Mr. Kevin.
What up, man? What is the brother's
I
I
like
just
your
text Dougie right now.
nice. I like your painting in the background. Is that a work in
Thank you,
progress
man.
or is that
But
something finished?
no, no, it's a work in progress. It's not going to be recognizable when it's done. You probably see like 2 centimeters of what's there now.
Really
So what's
like
going on, man? I just
those
I just I just
colors.
text Dougie. I text Dougie,
Nice,
so he should be coming on. He should be trying to come on now, actually.
nice. Yeah, I'll be able to see him in the back room. We're gonna have Dougie on, who is the author of Kill a Company Sons. Is that a book series, Kev?
Yeah, it's a
It's a book
series that he
series.
got set in the future as well. He's got a whole universe he's created as well. It's pretty cool. He's gotten I mean, I should let him explain it 'cause I don't want to butcher his storyline. But it's like a lot of street shit in the future. A lot of like it's crazy. He got like this softy, it's called softy that goes after like KKK and shit like that in the future. Then he's got a character named like 550 and his girl named Cream that they're like a dynamic duo when it comes to the crime scene and shit like that. Laura Mulberry is the name of his main character, and he talks about him from childhood to when he's up and coming and to when he's like officially made it in like the crime scene and shit like that. And then he
Nice.
gets into details with these with his weaponry that they use. Like he has like a legit design that he's come up with for a pistol that has all these different settings. It's almost like a Judge Dredd type of pistol, but it's a little wild. It's a little wilder than that, man. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. And he's
Okay, well
also
he is here, so
oh
let's
nice, nice, nice. I
intro.
can I can
Let's play
rant I can
his
rant all
intro
day. Let's
and
do
bring
it.
him in, and he will explain. Here is Dougie.
Where's my sandwich?
Original Low Life member from Brooklyn.
You have a 30-day notice to pay your full debt.
That's great.
On the streets like locusts. Addicted to money, increase my dosage.
Can you hear
Yeah.
me, Kevin?
What
Can
up,
you
man?
hear
There
I
he
can
me?
hear
is.
you. Shit. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. We hear you good. What's up, man?
You, yo, man, you who made that? Who made that intro? Because it's funny. You wanna know why? Because
I
I,
did.
Kind
I
of
heard some of my low lights in there, man. You put Decepticons
I put all
in
that
that
shit.
shit. Only you would know.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
only
yeah,
you
yeah.
know stuff like that from back in the day. I
Yeah,
was like, oh, because I was analyzing it. All right,
yeah. And then
who's on here?
like a year and a half ago, you was talking about how sandwiches are the best thing on the world. You was like, yo, I love a sandwich, man. They put me to sleep. You remember the sandwich rant he went
Yeah.
on? He was like, yo, sandwiches are the best. So I added that
Yo,
shit
I'm
to the
about to
beginning.
make this. I'm about to make a sandwich shop, man. I'm trying to sandwiches are the best, like pizza. I mean, it's not a meal, but you can get anything you want in it for like real quick if you wanted to.
Man, love a
You know what I'm
sandwich.
saying?
But yo, we're gonna get right to it because Ed gotta get his mom's on a flight and shit. So y'all don't know. I don't know if you heard what I was saying about your book. I was giving a quick rundown. Killer Company Sons. I was talking about what I said was you got like
Yeah, I heard
wild
that.
futuristic groups and gangs and shit like that. You got like the Salty who aim at like fucking killing the KKK. You got Laura Bowery, 550 and
Yeah,
Cream. Well, I said like you get into the weaponry like the pistol you got that's like you can set the stun and all this other shit. It's like Judge Dredd pistol, but it's deeper than that. But
yeah,
ultimately, we all chatting up because we're kind of gonna like align our timelines where we have a character who hasn't been introduced yet in our book that you were talking about
yeah,
having in your book that takes place a couple of years before our story takes place. So we wanted to just talk about that and get your ideas on that. And I think you were focused on Bomag, right? Bomag being like a crazy mercenary trainer or some shit
uh,
like that.
something like that. Let me. You can't see me. Something like that. So I already added some stuff in there. Because you told me don't get into detail. It's 17. It's 19 times something was mentioned. So for one, it's a character named Corey. Because you said sun satellites. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Anybody could work on that. So it's
yeah,
like
there's a
Corey's
million of
working with
those.
members of the Sophie. Okay, so Corey's working with a member of the Sophie. They're secretly forming their own chapter in the Phantom Company, but those are the bad guys. Corey wants the secrets that Longmore knows. Um, but it's that Corey wants to become immortal, and he wants to monopolize the Sun Satellite business. So Corey
All
is
right.
one character that wants to monopolize the Sun Satellite business. So I'm just getting approval, or if you want something to be changed, because he's trying to do that. So I'm not going to have him monopolize it. He's trying to because you said Sun Satellites already
I don't
created.
think that holds any much weight in our story because Sun Satellites aren't from one particular company. They're just out there. They're just rogue in the atmospheres. Like we don't have one person responsible for all of them out there. So I mean that doesn't bother
so
me at
there's
all.
a lot of all right. So there's a lot of things just about Sun Satellites. There's a character named Mr. James Lawmore murders him at the end, but him and somebody else will work on Sun Satellites. That's in the first one.
Hold on. I think even before you get into that, you should give everybody like a backstory to what your main story is about and who the characters are, who the players are, the time setting and things like that. Just so somebody who so people who don't know any of us know what your book is about, and then we'll talk about how they kind of intertwine later.
Okay, well the second book is the continuation first. You have Lawmore Bauer is his name. In the middle of the book, he takes a daydreaming pill. And he's talking about his childhood, how he learned basically how to become an assassin. But at that time, he didn't. He thought his parents were gangsters, but they're part of something called the SOTI, and that is the Society of the Highly Intelligent. And they go out there. I mean, they protest, they march. They're scientists. They're trying to go out there and make cures and do the right thing. But then you got the badass guys. That's the Killer Company sons within that organization, just in case somebody fuck with their ass. The Killer Company sons are the worst because they're just as smart. They know science. They know all these things. It's just say like a badass MacGyver. Like, oh shit, nobody want MacGyver to piss the fuck off. You know what I'm saying? Or mix them up with I guess like John Wick. But it's a whole organization that does this. So they have a big beef. And their big beef is, one is the Phantom Company. They're basically like black racists. They used to be the side of the highly intelligent, and then they wanted to do to other races what were done to anybody that has melanin, colored people. The SOTI doesn't like that, so they got beef with them. And then you have the Supreme Group that's a mixture of the KKK, neo-Nazis, and the Aryan Nation. So they're acting crazy on Earth, but the real war is on a planet called Ayanad. Ayanad has these waters that everybody wants. And the SOTI found out about that first. Okay, that's just like there's all types of different organizations in here. Like when we found out there was like Dinobots and all these other type of Decepticons, but we knew about Autobots and Decepticons. Like just trying to put it in that form where you see these other characters. You know what I'm saying? So there's more that's about to be out there. However, they got a big beef with them because they go to Ayanad, and Ayanad is like Earth, but it's bigger. There's just so much more land. Some places that's rural. There's some places that have technology, but there's this water that they use that enhances things. You know what I'm saying? It can enhance your health, fruits, vegetables. So they beefing over that. They're also beefing about a rose because Kevin actually drew the rose for one of the second books that I'm rewriting, and it's a rose that does not burn. The rose that does not burn can cure anything. But it's in the city. But it's in the city of roses, where the city's alive. Nobody's really can get in and out.
You can't get in there.
Be born there. You got to be born there or have a bloodline from there. And people have found their way in, but when they leave, they all jacked up. So they're fighting over this rose also. So it's about the childhood of the character. And he has an organization. He's younger. He makes some marijuana brownies. That's in the first book. I have a recipe for that in the first.
That's when he's kid. That's when he's a kid though, right?
Yeah, he's like 12 years old. Because the underlying story is he's still married to Stacy. That's his wife. When the book begins, he's about 60, 62. Because the present time in that book is 2070. When he's 12, it's 2020. But then the third book is going further. So the third book goes up to like 2090. But they're still alive. I mean, they grow old. It's one of those science fiction stories where he doesn't look 62. He probably looks maybe about 40 or something like that in good years. Okay. So basically, with his childhood, it's just teaching morals and stuff for kids. To be honest with you, there's a lot of action in it. So with the second book, in the first book, Longmore kills Mr. James. Mr. James is his best friend's uncle. That's Eddie. So now he gets shot, and they're gonna take him to the hospital. But I don't start there. I start with something else. But since I was combining your two worlds, we wanted to combine something. We could pick a year, but I had Sun Satellites in it because the second book is a continuation, and a continuation. What they're trying to do, Longmore wants to become. He doesn't want to become an elder because they're killing elders. But when you become an elder, basically you realize he has powers. 550 has powers, and so does Train. 550 is kind of he did it to his wife. Remember Men in Black and get stuff. You can make him think whatever you want.
Yeah.
Are you there? Yeah. So that's one of his powers. That's one of his powers. So he can flash, and make people think certain things or forget certain things, and that's one of his powers. So anytime he does something, and he's out there being an assassin, people they don't remember. So he could walk in any place and flash, but it's a certain radius. So therefore, when he was younger, I'm gonna write a story about him too. With 550, first he could only do like a couple of feet. So therefore, if there was two people in the room, he would have to read their mind. He can flash for a couple of feet, or let's say now he can do like a mile. So therefore, he can hear people's minds thinking. So let's say there's like 100 people within that mile radius. Okay, they're over his head. He'll flash. They don't know anything. He's gone. Because you have no idea who's seen you within that mile radius. So they can't snitch on him. And it hurts. But that's one of his skills. And he did that to his wife when she first seen him do some foul shit. And he had to tell her. So there's a lot of love stories going on in there. And there's assassinations, but it's more about the family.
So how about you still thinking about introducing Bomag in there as like a trainer to one of these companies and shit?
Yeah, that was what basically I wanted to. That was one of the people in it because I have Sun Satellites in there, and then there's something about Bomag training. A few people. So there's a character called Andar Spectrum. And he's part of something called the Expector. The Expector, basically what they do, they document the truth. Now, you can be alive in the Expector because Expector means like spirit or ghost in Spanish. You can be alive in the Expector. You just know that when you pass away, there's more. Everybody doesn't know that. You know what I'm saying? We believe that it is. But once you know that you're Expector, you already know, like, okay, there's going to be more. And what the Expector do, they document all the truth about events. That's why everybody wants their books. They don't leave anything out. And they can't actually intrude into any of the facts of the world. So they have a book of everything. Like they can go back into time and document everything. So they know. Like they say, well, you can say who killed Kennedy. We don't know. Well, they know. They do. They go back in time just to document those things. Andar was alive at one time, and I had trained him, and killed him, but I'm not sure.
Bomag killed him?
Yeah, Bomag killed Andar. That's what I put it in. Yeah. So,
yeah, I was cool. I remember when we first spoke about it months ago. I was cool with Bomag training everybody. It's just, I remember you just described him as being like so fucking like he was super killer vicious, bro. I was like, damn, I don't even know if he's super killer vicious yet. I don't even know how we're gonna use him yet. That's why I was like, yeah, so I'm not sure about that yet. I mean, you had him like on some Hitman times 50 type shit. He was gutting motherfuckers with toothpicks and shit.
Yeah. So I can take that out. You know what I'm saying? If you wanted me to.
I don't know. I mean, I think Ant has more ideas of how far he wants to take Bomag than I do.
Okay.
I just like Bomag's origin story. and like where he's gonna fit in our current timeline. But I didn't really think about what he was in the past. But I know Ant has done more of that thinking because you even gave him a son and how do you describe Bullmag if you had to describe him, Ant? Like is he like a vicious, crazy killer, or is he level headed and methodical? Like how do you see him?
I kind of see him as like that methodical type of level-headed nature when he's at the age that we meet him. He's 50 or whatever he is, right? But maybe in his past, maybe he's more like Dougie was saying,
vicious, because he was vicious as fuck. The way Dougie's version is vicious as fuck. Like he'll murder you to a bloody pulp.
I mean, I think that fits. Yeah, because like in our story, he's almost like, imagine a super Navy SEAL, you know, and I think that type of person could, let's say their normal personality was a certain way, but they could go from 0 to 100 in a heartbeat, right? So I can kind of see that happening there. Now, Dougie says that the main character in his story is 62 in 2070. Is that also, like, have they discovered that planet Ionod yet? Or, is that integrated into the story by 2070?
Yeah, by 2070, they already know about the planet. By 2020, they know about the planet. The planet is hundreds of years before America. So the planet has been known. The organization has been around for thousands of years. They just changed the name. And but going back to Bullmag, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I had here, I put the most. So basically, there's a character called Andor Spectre. He's part of the Expectro. So I said, I'm Andor Spectre. I watch documents of certain SOTY members. I'm one of the narrators who will take you through this amazing journey you're about to read. Lil Mo Bauer is my favorite Killer Company son. Before I became Expectro, I was SOTY. Before I became SOTY, I provided the following services: political consultant and armed guide to guarantee safe travel into the City of Roses to find the Ionod Rose, the Ashanti Rose, security personnel, trainer of dragons for the local military, force employer, arms merchant, open contract assassin, and mercenary. The most dangerous and feared mercenary who thoroughly trained me. His name was Bullmag Ragtail. He just didn't help me. Bring me home, but he was stealthy. But if he knew I was stealthy and needed to survive, he would help me. Then it says here, he's a legend. He's the one that trained me, Bullmag Ragtail. But Bullmag ended up assassinating Andor, and that's another story. So that's what I put in there. I can take it out. That's why, Then I had something in here.
I like that mention. That's just dope. Just to go, I wouldn't mind fucking do you have a region where the City of Roses is, like on our Earth, or is that someplace else?
That's on Ionod.
That's on Ionod.
Yeah, this is on Ionod. So this is not on Earth, where Andor was when he got trained by him. It can be on Earth. I mean, but they know about these other things on Earth. So it's kind of like us. Let me see.
It's
kind of like. Good.
Now I was just thinking, like if one of Donovan's drones found like one of these fucking roses, you know what I'm saying? But that shit is just a weird fucking plant that just does all the wrong shit. It could be a dope spin-off too.
I mean, when
the Sigma Roses has different roses.
Everything.
No, that's the one that gets
one of them. No, they all do different shit, right? They got roses. They all do different shit. Some of them kill, some of them heal, some of them give you everlasting life. They all do all kinds of shit.
Some fly, some talk. It's just some are made of diamonds, some are made of gold.
Yeah, shit is wild.
You know what I'm saying? Some change color. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I had another. So this is what Andor says. He says, and this is, I just put Quantum Heights in it. The first day I became Expectro, I witnessed wealthy factions combine, and they call themselves the Introducer. They unite to exchange views and ideas, which sell with control the most influential cities on these planets and alternate universes that they have safely traveled throughout time and space. The timeline and space include, but are not limited to, the past, present, and future, alternate and parallel universes and dimensions. This conference even includes cities that won't exist for thousands of years, and one is called Quantum Heights. So they over there plotting on shit.
I like it.
Yeah, but your city didn't exist yet because yours is like in the year like 3,000.
Like let's say 1,000 years.
Wait, we're like 1,000. With like 1,000 past you.
Yeah. So they don't even know about the city, but like what they're doing is you got this organization, they plotting on cities that don't even exist yet. But they know the city's gonna exist and it's called, it's the Quantum Heights. So I'm not gonna add anything into your storyline or anything with the story. I'm just putting the names in there so they know when they read it, they can be like, oh, okay, I heard that before. Wait a minute. Oh, they be like, oh shit, that's from fucking Albatross Junction. Oh shit, how the hell? But Monsters in the past and Mysteries in the future. Yeah. So it's like one day my shit gonna have to end because if we on the same planet, this shit fucking don't got no sun. So at least I got 1,000 years to work with.
Yeah, like the sun goes out somewhere in between, that time of 2070 and then the future, like 1,000 years later.
Oh,
so let's say you've got like 700 years to go. You have 700 years to play with where there is a sun, and then all of a sudden there isn't one, and then maybe 200-300 years go by, then we're at the point of Albatross Junction, our story. So you got a long time too.
Yeah. Wait. When did your sun go out? What year was that?
Let's say it's like 730 years from now.
So so right now we're in like 2022. So it's like 700 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it says in there? I'm trying to. Okay.
Now we're not like that specific about when it happens in the comic yet.
That's just the story we tell each other that we know that, you know what I mean? We didn't really describe it that way, but that's what we've always said in behind the scenes.
Okay.
Like our story takes place like 1,000 years in the future, but they've been living without a sun for like without a sun for like 200 years out of that 1,000.
And for instance, Bomag is a character who is, let's say, in our story, born, let's say, about 600 something years from now. And because he's frozen, he's off planet for a long time before he arrives in our story in issue number 5, at about 50 years old, let's say. He's really almost 300 years old because he's been in in the movie Alien, where they are cryo sleep or hyper sleep. But one way I'm kind of thinking as you talk, Dougie, about Bomag is that perhaps he's even older than that in a sense, where like maybe his essence or his personality or his memories are extended via technology. So let's say there's a little chip inside. Let's say the Bomag in your story passes along a chip that was inside his brain, let's say, to a son, and then the grandson, and then the great grandson. Maybe they're all Bomag Ragto with the memories and the sort of some traits of the previous one held inside the chip. And by the time we get to the Bomag in our story, that chip is also present in Bomag, so he has these memories and traits and stuff. And also one of the main reasons why in our story he was like the military leader, because with all that experience, with all that military knowledge, killing experience, being an assassin, being whatever he was, like a Navy SEAL, the military in our story chose Bomag to, because in our story before it starts, there's a like a mega ship, a starship that goes out in search of some answers. And that's where he's kind of gets stuck, you know, like he's kind of out there. That ship, like hundreds of years after it goes out, it crash lands back on Earth with Bomag in it in hypersleep, and he eventually wakes up, and then that's our issue number 5, which is coming out in like let's say
I got something beautiful for you, Anthony. I got something beautiful. The third book is called The Golden Square Compass. Now I know, Kevin, this has nothing to do with Freemasonry. It's actually a golden square compass. Now this golden square compass, they want the Ashanti golden square compass. This golden square compass, and there's many of them, can find anything if you program it right. Anything, anywhere, any dimension, anytime. But it's different, some of them. So everything on it is because it's square. Everything is square. Some are digital, some are not. Some are holographic. So it goes on. It's a golden square compass that can find anything. So therefore, somebody could have put something from Bomag Ragto. They duplicated the chip, and it's in there. So now everybody keeps trying to find this chip because the chip, like you said, keeps going from like one Bomag to another, you said, until it gets to your universe.
Right.
The bad guys are trying to find this chip. So they trying to get this compass that has it programmed in there. And that could be one of the things that they're fighting in my universe. Like, we need this chip. We need this chip from Bomag Ragto because that name is classic. They kept killing, they kept doing it. When you make the character what he wants, I'll add, whatever scene or how you want it to go. I'm not gonna like take the story or anything like that. I'm just gonna say the name, and then however you want the character to go when he was like, let's say in this time, maybe he was the first one or the third one. Is that what you're trying to say? So when they find him, when he's frozen, you're saying he might be a descendant or something. Is that what you're saying?
Right. So let me try to like expand the idea a little bit, because I want to basically take from what I heard from Kevin and from what I'm hearing from you right now. I'm thinking we could take 3 technological elements, 3 elements, and share them. One of them being the sun satellite, one of them being Bomag and whatever's inside his head, his chip, and the other one being this weapon that Kevin said you have a certain type of gun or weapon. And we'll get to that in a little bit, but I want to talk about Bomag for a second, where, like, how when you watch Star Wars and you find out about Darth Vader, he's in one of the first scenes and you're like, wow, this guy's a badass, and he's throwing people up against the wall. And then he mentions, I think he mentions in the first movie, or at least in the second movie, The Empire Strikes Back, you learn that Darth Vader has a boss. And you're like, holy shit, how does this crazy
that's kind of
have
crazy.
A boss? So I'm thinking, what if Bomag himself is sort of like, he's badass in your universe. He's this badass killer. He's this badass guy. And every time he sort of, I don't want to say reincarnated, but it's a different, it's like someone in some descendant of his who receives the chip, who's also named Bomag Ragto. He's getting better and better and better and better. So however you describe your Bomag, by the time we get to our story, it's like almost unfathomable that he's even better, because your Bomag is badass. So how could the next one be more badass? It's like mind-blowing. And then the next one's more badass, and then the next one's more badass. By the time you get 700 years down, this guy is a fucking, nobody's like him, And I think that the technology stuff, that chip, like, sort of electronics that live inside people is a huge part of our story. It's like what drives people to do what they're doing and stuff. So this chip could be sort of the beginning of that, where in our story, everyone's kind of infested with nanotechnology, but not like we're talking about here, sort of invasive nanotechnology. The one we're talking about for Bomag, like is like helping, right? It's like making him better, and sort of like recording his experiences and making the next iteration of Bomag able to draw on those experiences. So, for instance, like the second Bomag might not have to learn how to walk because he's gonna already know how to walk from the previous one, and so on and stuff. So, with the sun satellites, that could work any way that you kind of see fit, whether it's for the planet Ionot or whether it's for something on the planet Earth. Because when me and Kevin started looking this up a bunch of years ago, we found out they're already making sun satellites. So it's not like we need a sun satellite because we have a sun, but they're making them anyway. Like China's got one or whatever. So
yeah, that shit is crazy, man.
That's a tech that could move forward. And then if you want to speak a little bit about this third thing, which is like this weapon that Kevin spoke about at the beginning of the show for a little bit, but that might play in, depending on what you say. But in our story, there's this group. They're like a gang of females called the Manfredos, and they got a special gun that they find like a cache of these guns, and they're guns that no one else has. They can actually like kill people. They kind of put people in a coma, and that's okay. That's allowed in our world. In our world, like murder is not allowed because this nanotechnology that's in people stops you from doing that. But these guns that these chicks find, they can put people into a coma. And in our world, if you go into a coma, basically the cold of not having a sun that will kill you, or something else will kill you, a polar bear will jump out and kind of eat you or something. So that's a deadly weapon in our world that only they have. So I'm just wondering if like whatever you come up with for your weapon is some kind of technology that hundreds of years later these chicks find,
Yeah, they can definitely find the sonic handguns hundreds of years later, because they weren't created on Earth. They were created on Ionine. So remember, that planet still exists. So if that ship ever leaves Earth again, they can visit that planet too if they wanted to, and find a way, incorporate it into that. But yeah, you can definitely put the gun in there. It's a high temperature sonic handgun. So you have
Primal, by the way, he's in the room. What up, Primal?
What's going on, Primal? Doing real good tonight. How are you? Yeah, those are sweet ideas. High temperature sonic gun.
Yeah, dope.
Yes, it's a high temperature sonic handgun, and it's shaped just like a gun. It's on the cover of I'm not sure if Kevin has the book handy. I know.
Yeah, I got. It's the schematic is on the cover. Hold up.
Yeah. So basically, you got it's different hammers that are on there. Some of them are digital, so you can actually like take out a clip of a hammer and put in, let's say, 5 hammers. The hammers are basically how much.
That's sweet.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Kev, that's one of them. So you got the top of the
one of the books available now, goddamn.
Now, which book is this in the lineup? Number 1?
This is number 1, technically, and then the one I'm putting in is number 2. So technically, it's number 4. Let me explain that. So the first book I wrote, Kevin did something with the cover. He turned the coin gold. That was great. But I saw errors in the book. So I was like, all right. Then I had a second book. And Kevin did the rose for the cover of the second book. Then I was like, you know what? Let me write a third book. I was like, you know what? Nah. let me redo my first two. I never really pushed them because I saw Everest because I was, kind of disappointed in it. So the book that Kevin just put up is a remake of the first, but I cleaned it up better. I added stuff and made it more exciting. Can I see? Look dark. And this book that's coming out that I'm having your characters in is the remake of the second book. So ISBN wise, I have 4 books, but story wise, 2. Then I have a third one that I'm writing already that I have 171 pages in, and I can add anything in there that you want to. But I have a universe, so these books are not going to stop.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's why I keep, when I keep writing, sooner or later, and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, did Earth blow up? Because Albatross Junction is mentioned.
No,
then I gotta make so much like
cold.
It gets cold. Yeah, it gets cold. So
cold and dark.
You know what I'm saying? Cold and dark, and it's you can still see. Like, how do you write a book? Yeah, Kevin's smart because what after Sun, about the world spinning out of control. We learned that shit in high school, and you can't see. So I'm like, you writing the shit in the dark. That's kind of dope. But yeah, the sonic handgun, you have to cock the top and bottom, and it shoots the sound low, so you don't hear anything. And there's levels to it, so I can. Let's say I had like a Lawnmower had like a 25 caliber sonic handgun. He would crack one hand. That one right here. That one he in that picture was like I think a 40 cal. But he had a 25 caliber, and he cocked back one hammer, and it's like getting hit by Mike Tyson. Now, I've never been hit by Mike Tyson, but that's not something I probably really want to experience, right? And then you cock back the second hammer. You know what I'm saying? There's more force behind the sonic handgun. There's more force behind it, and people you can turn hot. The third one on the 25.
Broke up a little bit.
50 caliber Desert Eagle sonic.
No, we didn't hear the last thing you said. It broke up a little bit.
Okay, the gun that Lawnmower used in the first book to kill Mr. James is a 50 caliber Desert Eagle with 20 hammers, and he cocked back all of the hammers. And what happens is when he shot him, it's very terrible because when he shot him, everything inside of his body started to explode. His skin stayed together and just cracked open a little bit. And that's how he killed Mr. James, because it's sound and everything lowers. You know what I'm saying? However, if you don't cock the bottom, you cock at the top. That's what you look like it's a pump in the top. If you don't cock the bottom, you just cock top, the sound spreads in front of you. So when he actually shot James, a lot of glass was shattering and everything because it spreads. You don't want it to spread because it's kind of bad, because if you try to shoot one person in front of you and it spreads, you're gonna hit the wrong people.
Somebody's grandma.
Yeah. Right. They're not gonna hit his hard. The sound is gonna hit him. You want the sound to go forward. And then there's a story in the first book where Lawnmower gets shot at and his glass bottle broke. And he didn't hear anything. Like, he was listening to music and everything went low on mute because everything is in reverse. So when you shoot the gun, the sound lowers. So if me and you talking, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing, yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. I paused and was mute for a minute just to let y'all you talking and your voice went low or mute. Somebody.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
It sucks the sound out.
Yeah. But then they have something also in there called the energy that they get from Ionide. And this is how the energy, just how it combines sound, heat into this one ball. Because you can put a clip in it and it shoots out. So that's how it works. So if you got like, let's say you got 3 hammers and you put the bullet in, it's only going to take a third of that energy. So now when you click it again, you gotta think about what you have. Now that same bullet is not the same underneath it because that one bullet is powerful if you use all 3. That same bullet now only has 2/3 left. So now you have to think about how you use your gun. So it's complicated with them. So usually they just cock back on, but you shouldn't do that. Lawmore shot his friend Eddie. Yeah, he shot his friend Eddie.
Damn.
Felicia Marie is here. She says, is there a Dybbuk or another animalistic character like a predator evolution throughout the 1,000 years? Well, in our story, the Dybbuk, which I'll show you what they look like. This is like one of the monsters in our story. They come from a different planet called Enhinga, and they actually have a really long history, like let's say like a 25,000 year history on Enhinga. But the first time they get to Earth is during our story in Albatross Junction, like 1,000 years from now. So, and they don't even travel to Earth exactly, but they're sort of cloned from genetic material that was gotten from that faraway planet Enhinga through the efforts of Donovan Cordova, our main character. He like kind of made this creature from that DNA. But there is a long history, and they're not all like beastly and like predator-like on their world. They are like they look like this, but they are sort of I don't want to say tamed, but they have a purpose on their world.
Like regal fucking monsters and shit.
Yeah, they like serve families, like dynasties, like we call them dynasty protectors on Enhinga, where they're very long lived. So as a family grows, the people in the family die and new members of the family are born. This Dybbuk, the dynasty protector on Enhinga, assigned to that family or loyal to certain royal family maybe, is always there protecting every single member of that family, protecting the interests of that family.
So I mean, I think Felicia probably knew all that, to tell you the truth, but is she asking about Dougie's story?
Yeah, maybe she was asking like, could the Dybbuks be
or does Dougie have like a monster or some shit?
Oh, do I got monsters? Hell yeah, I got. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yo, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I got monsters.
Yep.
Yeah, I got monsters and fucking dragons and all types of shit. I should go. That's at the end of the book, though. Like, I should go hard, bro. Like that's at the end. That's what, like the third book. Like the reason I wanted these first 2 books, it was like I wanted people to love the character. You know what I'm saying? And people love watching kids. Like people love to see. Well, how the hell did John Wick do this shit? You know, you would want to know what the fuck happened. But my story's not like, oh my God, I was traumatized. Nah, that nigga Loma was chilling. His family got money.
Yeah.
His family got money. They're assassins too. You know what I'm saying? They were like hood rich. They owned all types of, I wouldn't say hood rich, but they were rich, like for real. They owned like they own property in the neighborhood, franchises and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Stacy, which is his wife in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? He's still married. So he was since he was 12. So they love story. Because I always see myself, you know, on TV, and shit. He's only out there killing white people. It's like drama and negative. Nah, motherfucker. It's a story. It's science fiction. If it pisses you off, that shit, it might be realer than I think. You know what I'm saying? You're not thinking Darth Vader going to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or hop out the fucking ground. So what you mad at an assassin that's out there killing the clan? unless you part of the clan. But there are monsters in mind. There's one we haven't. There's invisible eagles in there. Um, section, but those monsters can come from I and I before armed wolfmen of Banestown. That's another story. I have the Chambers of the Atrocious. Those are monsters too. But some of these monsters are kind of good, like the Walking Hillenos tree. They come from the
That sounds crazy.
sea of living trees. Yeah, because I have a lot of different. I'm up to like 100 now. So I do a lot of research. The Walking Hillenos tree, and they walk. They're not like
And all of these are part of the same story. They all fit. They all tie together.
yeah, yeah. This stuff is on I and I that happens. This stuff don't happen. You know what I'm saying? Like this, the Earth is like Earth. So how I did it is kind of like let's say you made a story about an astronaut or something. You know what I'm saying? So now you got the life of an astronaut. They go to other planets, but they come home and Earth is regular. Like, yeah, I just saved the world. Nobody knows you on Earth. You know what I'm saying? But then you go to this other planet, it's buck wild, but it's nice. You know what I'm saying? People, it happens like that all the time in science fiction stories. So I had nice monsters, and then I got bad monsters. And there's dragons in here too, because the dragons in the end of the second book. Now this is all in the second book, not the first one. So all this stuff with the Walking Hillenos tree, the Shree, the Shrew. There's a whole bunch of names in there. Basically, you got the eyes of a Maris for the honest eye. And with that, people are actually taking out their eyes and putting in these other people's eyes. Or it could be the eyes of a person, monster, or animal, but they're called the honest eyes. And you know how to train them right. You can see inside people's souls. You can see the past. You can shoot laser out your eyes. The shit gets crazy if they learn how to use them right. So there's dragons out there that the Supreme Group have trained. That the Supreme Group have trained to hunt these people down and find the eyes of any one of these animals, creatures, or whatever. So there's dragons in it. And you got good dragons. You know what I'm saying? Some of the dragons, they spit electricity, they spit fire. So I had to research dragons. And I said, let me do my own thing because when I was young, vampires cannot go out into the sun.
Yeah.
And now you watch some of this shit, so people just change what they want. You know what I'm saying? I got wands in there, like magic wands. So let me pull up wands. But yeah, the and
I lost you for a second.
Yeah, Freddie, I think you're going a bit robotic with your voice.
No, I don't hear nothing.
Hello?
You.
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I do have so some of my monsters could come from. I'm going to focus on Bo Mag now and just write some things down and see how you like it. So the Bo Mag in my time is not the same Bo Mag in your time. It's something to do with the chip, correct?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Kev, what do you think?
Yeah, that can work.
Can you figure out a way for it to be the same Bomag, or are you along the same lines as me, where you're thinking it's, because in our story, people don't live that long, so I'm just thinking about the time change, the time difference, where they take place, how far apart they are in time. So I'm trying to make it so that.
Are you thinking of like some type of clone scenario where he has like just a whole line of avatars ready just to keep switching his chip to?
Well, I was kind of thinking more so along the lines of like his descendants. So like, you know how
So, but then it's not the same Bomag.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because I'm trying. Well, I could only because I can't think of a way to make it the same Bomag.
So then this would be like
Right.
Dougie's would be like
so either I
Bomag the
would,
first, and ours would be like Bomag the third.
Exactly.
All right.
yeah, something like that. Because I'm trying to figure out if they find him frozen on a planet with no sun, he had to have been wilding out before the planet. You know what I'm saying? Had no sun, right?
Like for a while in our story, he's like asleep for like a couple hundred years, underneath the ice in this ship that crash landed back on Earth. But the ship took off from Earth. Let's just say an arbitrary date, like it's 2700. The ship takes off from Earth, and the reason why is because the sun had been extinguished for, let's say, 80 years by that point, and this mega ship is built and created to kind of go out and search, almost like in Star Trek, the Enterprise, search out new life or whatever. This ship is supposed to go out, and it used all the Earth's resources to make this mega ship that could hold like hundreds of thousands of people, almost like a floating city that they traveled to a faraway planet. Bomag is the military leader on that ship, but there's civilian leadership as well. So there's like a government on the ship. There's like an Earth government. Civilians are on the ship, but there's also like 80,000, 100,000 troops as well as protection for whatever they encounter. Bomag's the leader of that. He's also got his son with him, and the son actually remains on the planet that they land on. The planet that they land on attacks the ship, which is like a city floating in their sky. So they start firing their weaponry at the ship, and the civilian leadership decides that they got to get out of there. The ship is going to blow up or whatever if they don't get out of there. So when they escape from that situation, they get to they have to, like, it's like when your car goes into like limp mode where it only goes like 20 miles an hour because it's damaged. The ship like limps to the next planet, which is like a sister planet to this warring planet that Bomag's son is now stuck on. Bomag's son, as a little aside, like becomes like just a crazy military might on this planet, and they hail him as like because they love war, and they hail him on this planet that he's stuck on as like a beast, like he's like a hero to them just by surviving for so long. But anyway, Bomag and all the civilians and a very small amount of military people left on the ship have limped to the sister planet, and the sister planet basically tricks our earthly people on the ship to go back to Earth. They fix the ship enough to go back to Earth, but the ship ends up crash landing on Earth. Now we're talking about 280 years before our story takes place, and Bomag is in like a hypersleep on the ship. They kind of sabotage, like these aliens sabotage the ship so that nobody will even wake up, and so even that the ship crash lands, because the ship has ways of not crashing. It's not supposed to crash, but these aliens kind of program in this crash. They're like, fuck off. So they send the ship back to Earth. Ship crash lands, and since there's no sun on Earth for a couple hundred years by that point, the ship is covered in layers of snow and ice until one day Bomag does wake up, and it's due to the sun satellites. Like Donovan's focusing his second sun satellite that he won onto the ship and trying to heat it up because he knows where it is, and he knows that it's maybe got some DNA in there. It's got some secrets in there from these faraway planets that they've never been able to uncover. He starts focusing his second son satellite on it until one day it's warm enough where Bomag wakes up. So I think it'd be really cool. We just lost Dougie, but
We just
you know,
lost
he
him.
clicked into this. Oh, he's back.
There he goes.
He's back. So it'd be really cool to have Bomag have this really long history, like even longer than me and Kevin have already come up with, which is like this 300-year history. I think it's totally possible that, you know, he's a descendant of the original Bomag in your story, and kind of could even carry along those traits, those memories, those experiences to be like the best soldier possible, because he's like carried on all these like memories and all these experiences from
Cool.
these past lives, which is, you know, like people are working on that now, you know, like you know, Walt Disney has his head cut off and frozen, hoping to be woken up later, and you know, people are trying to find a way to like live forever. So it doesn't seem that out of context for there to be like
that was
a
a
chip.
Walt Disney joke, or that's real?
That's real. Walt Disney's head's frozen. He wants to be reanimated one day. No pun intended.
For real, bro?
Man.
Look it up.
I thought that was like a running joke on like Futurama type shit, but that's
well, yeah,
real.
no, there's a reason for the joke. It's because it's real. You know, like they say, jokes are they're like 10% truth. You know what I mean?
That's fucked up. I didn't know that. Yeah, I had no idea. That's crazy. Jesus Christ, bro. Nice background. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, so it's not out of the realm, even though Dougie's story begins in 2020. We're already in an era where people have been trying to live forever for years and years and years, and they aren't going to stop. You know, some people believe that the first people to live forever are alive right now. So it's like your guys' kids might not die. Like they might not ever die because people are working on stuff, you know, and it's like it is starting to become possible, where, you know, whether it be downloading consciousness into a machine, or whether it be extending the life of your current body, or whether it be transferring like brain activity from this body to another body. So it's not really out of the realm. And one of the things that's certainly possible, right, because they've done it, is to like, and they kind of do it in Captain America, right, the first Captain America movie, where it's like that guy, is it Baron Zemo, or no, that scientist guy, you know how he appears, like I think it's the Winter Soldier, he's on the screen all over because he's kind of transferred his whatever he can of his consciousness to the machines and the computers, and then he can kind of do stuff like even after he's dead.
Gotcha. So yeah, man, I think we're at a good point.
All right.
Move forward with everything. Yeah, Felicia said.
Yeah, so
I never know what the hell he's talking about, man. And he makes so many jokes. I can never tell if he's serious or just being sarcastic.
That's true. I mean, I probably kind of did it to myself when I'm always saying crazy stuff to Kev. He probably, you know, I don't doubt that he doesn't know what's real and what isn't.
We got a whole bunch of. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we got a bunch of good stuff. So basically, Bomag Ragtail. That shit sound crazy. He has a chip in his head. He's a leader. So
you broke up.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Freddie, but I heard you say he's got a chip in his head, and that's actually something that, like, you could initiate if you wanted to. If there was a place in your story to actually show the origin of that, because that could be where he
Yeah, I
got
can do
it,
that.
is like
I can do that.
in your store, you know, and that could be like sort of generation 1 chip, springing
Okay, I can do
something
that.
Killer Company's done.
Okay. Is Bomag the badass good guy mercenary, or he bad?
I don't think
Like,
we're clear
Like, you know
on
what I'm
that.
saying?
I
Like, you
think
know,
he
there's
just gets the
like,
job done. He lives by his own code, though.
Yeah, like if it depends which perspective you're looking through, because if you're looking at him from our main character's perspective, Donovan Cordova, he's an enemy. He's an enemy of Donovan's, but like he doesn't have allegiances in this time frame, because he's he springs up out of the cold, out of the ice, out of hypersleep, and he just needs to trying to make sense of where he's at, where he woke up.
He's
Like,
kind
he
of like
was
a
supposed to
Logan.
wake up in
Mixed with
orbit when like the ship that he's on, the mega ship, is supposed to sort of like stop and slow down in Earth's orbit. It's never supposed to come to land. It's not made to come to land. It's supposed to just float in outer space. Bless you. Bless you. And the fact that he wakes up on Earth in the cold 300 years later is all new to him. So he's just trying to make sense of all that.
Does he know his past? Or is he trying to find?
Yeah, like,
does he know his past?
He can remember his past, but he's missing a lot of time, because the last thing he remembers was like 280 years before, when they were, on this planet.
Here's an idea. Let's say the chip keeps going. The chip keeps going from one Bomag to a second to the third, right? So there's a first Bomag that has the chip. Let's say the chip was reproduced and it was programmed inside the Ashanti Golden Square Compass that could find anything. He loses his memory. He said he didn't have all of his memory. So therefore, somewhere you may mention he's trying to find this compass so he can find the chip that has his memories, if you wanted to do that. If not, that's just an idea. Since if you going chip to chip, that means whatever I do and I describe Bomag, you know what I'm saying, that chip is either reproduced or like a gift, like very precious, transferred to the other Bomag. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm kind of thinking. Like, it's embedded in Bomag's brain, and then I guess after death, it's transferred to like the son or the grandson,
to the son or anything. So they can be a duplicate of the chip. You know what I'm saying? That's fresh. You know what I'm saying? When it gets transferred to the other person, because if he's forgetting memories, that means it sounds like something's wrong with the chip. Is there or no? That's my question. If not, then we don't got to do that. I'm just asking. Like,
I guess
the chip gonna work?
Just the age. Like, by the time we get to our story, I guess it could be like an age issue where like the chip is only supposed to, let's say it's battery powered or whatever. Maybe it's only supposed to work for 100 years or something, and then unfortunately this dude's just been in hypersleep for like too long. Our Bomag.
Okay. So let's say this. Let's say the chip. There's always a secondary chip that is perfect, right? And maybe they want to find the Golden Square Compass. You know what I'm saying? Because he got one in his head that can find the chip, but it finds the 100% perfect chip of his memories. Or he may want to speak to the Expector one day, because the Expector, like I said, they follow somebody's whole life in their history. And he wants to talk to them to figure out the whole truth about himself. Now, how the Expector do it, there's something I told Kevin about. There's something called the Trillions. The Trillions are basically microscopic cameras that record everything, and they duplicate themselves. So that's how they figure out about time and space. So let's say as soon as I talk to any person on the street, could be a bum, could be a nice person, I say hello. That little trillion, they don't see it. It's microscopic. It goes on there, and it starts to multiply in a trillion. And they all communicate with each other to see if I had an effect on somebody's life by talking to them. That's how they know if they can go back into time and change shit, because I love Quantum Leap. But Quantum Leap defies all of the concepts they said about time travel. You're not supposed to go back and change shit, but that's what homie did. He saved people's lives. You know what I'm saying? So I had something called Trillions, where they watch people's lives. We can put that in there. If not, then we'll just stick with Bomag acting crazy, you know, in the past. And he can actually teach Killer Company sons. You know what I'm saying? Because Risha, in the end of the book, there's a character named Risha. She got trained by Bomag. So people, like, they fear him in the past. Like, when you got trained by him, it was kind of like, that's like the best trainer ever to be like an assassin. And he's like,
I like it. Like, yo, I think if we're gonna go down this route, we should change the language around him. They could be referred to as a Bomag. Like, yo, they have a Bomag. Like, you know, it's just known that this lineage is crazy, and you get your hands on one, and he could teach you anything. You know, you win it. You know what I mean?
But I mean, in Dougie's story, this could be the first one.
So that we should change it then.
I mean, by the time our storyline is, like, I think Bomag is forgotten. You know, because it's been 280 years since the Circadian went out there. So that's really, really a long time. That's like as long as the United States has been a country, right? So a lot of people.
I mean, Donovan would find this shit out though if he checks like a log on his Circadian and shit.
Right. So we could work that in, like when Donovan does some research on this guy. He's like, who is this?
He's
guy?
Like, oh shit,
trouble,
this is
right?
fucked up. Yeah, this is fucked up. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
But we're gonna wrap it up here. Dougie, I thank you so much for coming on tonight, and I also thank you for integrating Albatross Junction into your universe. That is so freaking cool.
Yo, and tell them where they can order your stuff.
What can we add? Where can I add? What might you add in your novel? Would it be like maybe the Sonic handgun, or like just saying the names, or like how are we gonna do that to integrate it into yours with this section?
Yeah.
With this
I was throwing around the idea of like finding the rose, even like finding the rose that does some shit, and that handgun.
Okay.
With the,
cool.
With the Manfredos, the Manfredos use that gun to fucking like put people in a coma, like Ant was saying.
And definitely those like roses can come into play, like with Donovan looking for all these like answers out in space for like to help Earth survive. One of those sounds like it could be a big key to.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, you can find my stuff. It's on Amazon.
Like the planet, you know, that you have too, is like I think that could be worked in as well. Because like I'm you know, maybe in our next talk we could talk about why didn't the human race turn to Ionod when they needed help, but there could be something there too. You know, why did they go to these other two places instead of Ionod? So we are going to have to figure that out too. Like, was it forgotten? Was something lost? Was it not tenable to go there? You know, in our story.
Sounds good. I like it.
Now, Dougie, where can people get Killer Company Sons books?
You can go to Amazon and type in William Douglas II. That's FWILLIAM Douglas. And it's gonna come up. You can also type in Motivate Life presents Killer Company Son.
Oh man,
we just
he was gonna
lost
say
Dougie.
Motivate. Yeah, he was about to say Motivate Life presents Killer Company Sons. That'll come up, and as you see his name at the bottom in the banner right there, that's exactly how you can find him online. F. William Douglas II, and Killer Company Sons will come up with that. Definitely. This is the book right here, like I showed before.
One that you really want to get has the red and black cover. Motivate Life presents Killer, KILLA, Company Sons, Fraternal Organization of Made Men. F. William Douglas II. You can get it on Amazon, or you can go to exlibris.com. But if you just type in and Google it, it's going to be on some website.
Dope. Well, yeah, man. Good looking, Dougie, man. This was fun, man. This was definitely fun. We're going to make it work.
Awesome.
Is it every Monday and Wednesday? Just Monday.
I don't think we set like a schedule for this yet, but we'll be back at it though.
Yeah, probably more like Wednesdays than Mondays. We'll have to see.
Yeah, man. And man, like safe trip. Take it home to the airport, man.
Thank you. Anybody looking for Albatross Junction comic book? Check out this channel and subscribe right here. We're going to give some updates. We're going to have issue number 1, 2, and 3 available real soon on Indiegogo crowdfunding platform, and follow us on Instagram, Albatross_Junction, and we'll give you guys updates there as well. And for now, have a good night, everybody, and thanks for checking this out. Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Kevin. And we will talk to you in the next video.
I'll holla at you.
Awesome. And I will see you tomorrow, Kev.
Yes, sir.
Albatross Junction. What an incredible book. I'd like to give this my highest recommendation. Albatross Junction by Anthony and Kevin. One of the finest books that Indie Comics has ever produced. I do want to recommend Albatross Junction with all my heart. This is really spectacular. And there's a sketch inside of me being a big fat slob. Cyberfrog over my shoulder, some pie, and it looks like looming death. There's death looming over me here. You guys, I mean, I'll do this anyway. I mean, I will promote your comics. If they look great like that one actually does look, I'd be happy to promote your comics. And I did also get a whole big stack of trading cards. These guys, Andrea went through these and was like, these are beautiful. Why don't your trading cards look this good? And I was like, there are trading cards. We're doing them together. You think you're putting me down. You're putting us down. This is a group effort, sweetheart, and don't you forget it. So good stuff. The book is called Albatross Junction. And I do want to promote that today. Hello, everyone. Hello in the chat.